Welcome back to In the Doghouse, a podcast by Justin and myself on topics that sometimes we don't even know about until we get here. But fortunately, today we got Carson with us, the latest addition to our semifinals roster after this last weekend's quarterfinals performance.
Yeah. Much less drama than most people, actually. She didn't even have to get a major penalty and then get kicked out. And then we had to appeal, and then she gets accepted back in. So it was pretty calm.
No,
it was.
No long-term drama, but there was still a dramatic moment that we'll talk about at some point, I'm sure.
It's very true.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
What do you mean you don't know what he's talking about?
You will.
Yeah.
Come on, when we get to it.
It was a very dramatic moment.
Carson, how does it feel? Has it sunk in yet for you?
Yeah, it definitely has. Once some of my videos started getting verified, I was like, okay, I feel a little better about this now.
Yeah. I'm sure it was nice finishing somewhere in the middle of the pack as opposed to feeling like you were just barely squeaking in where you don't know if things are going to move or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you set yourself up in a good spot after that second day. So it was a little less stress on that last one, although that last one was a little stressful.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Got it.
She blocked it out of her mind.
Yeah.
We'll do a little recap of the weekend for you, and then we can tell the story from your perspective and then from my perspective on it.
And then my perspective.
Yeah. I saw you out of the corner of my eyes, and I was like, this fucking guy better get out of the way right now.
I was like, oh no.
Yeah, me too.
But Carson, probably I would say for the most part, people don't know you as well as they know most of our roster of athletes that have been around a little bit longer. You obviously just moved to Vegas. When did you move? Has it even been 6 months?
It's almost been 6 months.
Okay. So give a little timeline of us starting together, moving out to Vegas and everything.
Yeah. So I got started with you in June, at the beginning of June, and then really loved the programming. So I came out and visited in August, and that was the only time I visited. I was here for a week, stayed with Kyra, got some good training in, got humbled on mini workouts. And then at the very beginning of October, I decided to make the drive down and move here.
How's it
been?
Any
regrets?
No regrets. Best decision I've made.
We didn't even pay her to say that.
Yeah, it's you. I think there's a lot of people that maybe don't have the opportunity to experience this, but when you train alone, it's really easy to know that you're pretty talented, know you're pretty good, but it's hard to compare, or it's hard to know how close or how far you are from the truly elite semifinal and games athletes until you have an opportunity to train side by side with them. And I feel like you had that moment. Your first visit was oh fuck, right?
It was rough.
Who was here when you were? Was Ricky here in August, or who was here?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. It was just the usual crew.
Yeah.
But everybody was kind of coming off the games or some off-season competitions. And it was Kyra. She did some stuff with Allie. Alex was around. But I think it's a little bit of people get a little bit starstruck training with athletes that they've seen on social media or seen in competitions, but then also you get totally taken out of your own game plan because you're all right, well, I need to show off, or I need to keep up with this. And so you go out too hot, you get totally blown up. It's that first competition experience.
Yeah, I learned a lot. Definitely learned a lot.
It's good for you.
It was good for me.
It's good to get humbled a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel has been your biggest area of growth since moving out here?
Honestly, probably my mindset. And before I moved out, I wasn't very confident with where I was at. And even before quarters, I was I don't think I really belong here. And it was tough, especially working out with such elite athletes right next to you. I'm getting beat by a minute in a workout. There's no way I'm going to make a semi. So being able to go through quarters and see that I do belong and gain that confidence was really helpful.
And I think the exciting thing when you're what, 20?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you're still at the beginning of your career. And I think being able to have people that, around you that can be mentors and kind of see the way things go for, those that are semis and games athletes. It's a great environment to grow in, I think, especially when you allow it to happen, when you're welcoming of it and you're not worried about the comparison part of things, which I think is great.
Well, yeah.
I think it's very easy to get swallowed up if you don't just say, hey, fuck it, man. I'm young. I've got a lot of time. I can't worry if I'm getting my ass beat. I got to learn as much as I can. And obviously it paid off. I mean, you're going to your first semi.
Yeah, and it's so great. Like, everyone's so supportive. So I couldn't ask to be in a better environment, and no one ever makes you feel less than if you don't do great in a workout. It's always like bringing you up instead of down.
Except for me.
I was about to say.
Yeah, except Kiefer keeps me humble.
Except for Kiefer.
I think it's a valuable opportunity to have the chance to fail or lose or do poorly in practice, because there's so many athletes that are training at their gym, whether it's alone or they have some training buddies that are, just people that normally do class, or they're just a tier below. And so they're used to winning everything. This is like, we went through the same thing when I played college basketball. It's like everybody in high school was the best player in their state. And then you go to college and you might be the 9th guy on the roster. And it's this really, really hard identity crisis that people go through. And the same thing is true in CrossFit. Like, if you're used to winning every workout in the gym and you go out on the competition floor at semifinals for the first time thinking you win everything, then you're going to find out really fast what it's like to be humbled on the stage. And you're going to have to learn how to react to that in real time. And so I think just being in a place where, like, Alex might spank you on a given day, Ali might spank you, Kiefer might spank you, all of these things, but also knowing, like, there are ebbs and flows to it, and there are things that you excel at, there are things they excel at. It kind of keeps you much more neutral throughout the weekend.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
I'm just curious, what was your placing last year in quarters? Obviously it's different because it was the entire, all of North America, but where did you place last year in North America?
I was like 270.
Okay. So you were 270, and what is
in North America? This is in the world this year, right?
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. In the world last year, I was like 520.
Okay. And then this year you finished 40th in North America West. That's awesome. I know you talked about mindset, but as far as like the physical ability, last year, what was it that held you up the most in quarterfinals, and where would you say you saw the most progress physically moving into this semifinal?
Definitely my like long monostructural stuff. Like workout 4 last year, I would have been like, well, this is going to be the one that goes to crap and isn't great. But this year, that was one of my best finishes. And I wasn't expecting that going into it, but I know I've been putting a lot of work in on rowing and GHDs. So I'm happy to see that progress.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, 19th in North America West. That's phenomenal.
To work. I mean, your day 2 was huge, and I think that was a huge spark of confidence for you. You went from being, I think after day 1, when the leaderboard came out, you were 64th, and so we knew you were within striking distance. We knew that the clean and jerk workout was going to be a good one, but like your day 2 performances, the 15th and 19th, I think put you into 30th, and it was like immediately you could tell that your mindset changed, and you're like, oh, it wasn't like maybe I have a chance. It was like I'm going to semifinals now.
Yeah.
And then the final workout. Let's talk a little bit about that final.
I'll go play by play through it.
You want to tee it up, buddy?
Yeah. So final workout is 21-15-9 with deadlifts and pulling gymnastics, going from chest to bar muscle ups, and then ending with the rope climbs. And really, like, the bottleneck, the crux of this workout, everything in this workout was the 9 rope climbs at the end. And so most of our athletes, especially the ones that were pretty comfortably in semifinals, we just gave the plan that we were going to break things up 2 to 3 sets on everything from the beginning. Quick rest, stay safe, get to the rope climbs, and execute well. Carson did that super well, even though, very good bar gymnast, so didn't need to necessarily break that up if there wasn't something coming after it. We get to the rope climbs, and as is the case on most things, did not appear to be at all about physical capability. It was just fitness, right? Like, she was too winded for where we were at in the workout. And so she's getting through the rope climbs, and each rope climb looks fine, but the rest periods are longer than I wanted. And I'm judging her, but I'm kind of like talking her through it. Like, let's get back up there. Come on, keep going. And we get towards the end, and everybody's getting excited, and I'm getting riled up, and people are listening or are watching in. And she finishes the 8th rope climb. And I just said to her, and it was one of those things where, like, we'd been on the rope climbs for like 3.5 minutes. And I was like, come on, we got to finish this workout. We got to get through this. And I said to her, if you want to go to fucking semifinals, you get back up on that rope right now, because in my head, I'm like, she's just tired. Like, one of the things we need to work on is her being a little bit tougher, doing work when she's tired. And so sure enough, she like grabs onto the rope, gets halfway up, her feet slip. She grabs one more time with her hands. And then it was just like, it was slow motion. You just see life go out of her, slides right down the rope, total failure to the bottom.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, fuck. I just screwed her.
The look on her face was priceless.
She
It
had
was this just look of shock and horror of like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
was like, I tell this person they have to do this thing if they want to go to semifinals. Then they fail dramatically. She's at what feels like total muscular failure. You could see her eyes start to well up. I asked her, we'd been having some issues with the ropes being slippery because they were new. And I'm like, did your feet slip or did your like grip just give out? And she's like, I'm just at failure. And I'm like, oh my
yeah, those are my exact words.
I'm like, take 20 or 30 seconds.
Yeah.
As long as you need, let's just make sure we execute this last one. And I still felt pretty confident that she had well enough of a buffer that it wasn't going to matter, that she would get through it fine. But it certainly wasn't the ending that she wanted on this last workout before she sat for 2.5 hours waiting to see if she was going to make it.
Yeah, it created a little drama for sure. I think once we knew, I think once you got that one, the final one, and we saw your time, I mean, I think we all felt pretty confident that you were in. But I think it was good, a learning experience. I mean, you know, because ultimately, like, you want to be able to do what Kiefer said. You want to be able to, you know, just hammer that last one. You get done with that 7th one, even if you're fatigued, you want to be able to complete that 9th one, you know, under heavy fatigue, right? I mean, that's the goal. So I think overall, I mean, you've made such huge strides in such a short period of time, but you've still got a huge trajectory ahead of you. So you know, not everything is perfect, but I think at the end of the weekend, obviously very successful.
What was your favorite workout of the weekend, or favorite moment? I guess you could say too, but let's say workout.
Probably workout 3. Was that the clean and jerk one?
Yeah,
that was definitely my favorite.
Shocker.
I love a heavy barbell.
You crushed it that
too.
one.
Yeah, I'm so happy I redid that one. I didn't really want to, and then with my last workout, I was so thankful I did.
Yeah. Well, and it was, and even still, I think you probably would have been fine regardless. But it was one of those things where your score was really good, but I think that the ability to move with urgency on something that's heavy under fatigue, and be confident that you can still do the work was something that we're working on with you. That's like a tough skill to acquire because it's not something we see a lot, except at high levels. And so I think when we talked about it, I was like, your score is great, but it's not going to cost you a lot to redo this workout. And I think you can do better. I was like, you have a good score, so let's just go out guns blazing, like no holding back, no governor. Like if you fail, you fail, but like you just need to go faster and get your hands on the bar and we'll see what happens. And so you're able to learn, like in a totally risk-free environment, what you're actually capable of. Yeah,
it was a good workout. And I feel like that's exactly what I did. I just held on the gas pedal the whole time and was praying for the best.
Which is something we'll have to do a lot more of now for the next couple months before we get to semis, because there will certainly be 1 or 2 workouts that are just like all gas, no breaks, 5 minutes or less. If you want to even be top 30 of 60 in this, like you have to get right back to work on whatever it is that's coming up.
Yeah. Kiefer and I have talked about it at length, and there's just there's a pace that, look who decided.
There we go.
Oh, wow. We got blessed with a button up again.
Look at this guy.
It's the new uniform, I feel like.
I love it.
Gonna have to go Polo Thursdays.
It's nice. I like it. We've talked at length about there's just this gear that the top athletes have. And it's one of those things that you just have to learn. It takes time to learn. It's not something that comes to most people naturally. So I think, you know, being forced to go really fast is something that's important. And there's going to be points in your programming over the next several months that you're going to be forced to go faster than you want to. But it's going to help you because ultimately it's going to allow you to understand that you can kick into that gear. And I think that's something that a lot of athletes are afraid of until they do it over and over and over. And then it just starts to come more and more naturally. So that'll be something that you'll see.
I think that'll be the challenge to you, and that should be a challenge to a lot of athletes, is in training, take those chances more. If we know that 4 minutes, balls to the wall as hard as you can is something that you're not totally comfortable with yet at the degree that you need to be, then you just have to do it. And you just have to come out hot and see if you can hold on. And you might fail, but whatever. It's training. That's the whole point, is figuring out like, okay, like what is, I'm learning how to use an espresso machine, and I'm finding out that like the difference between 15 grams and 16 grams is dramatic. The difference between the grinds being a little bit finer or a little bit more coarse is dramatic. And for you, it's like we had to figure out what is 100% and what's 105%.
I like it.
You like that?
I like it. So nice.
Great analogy.
That's phenomenal.
Because it makes a huge difference. But but training is the best time to do that, because like, so what if you fail? Right? Like you still got better, you still trained, you learned what was not the right thing for you. And I think that if you're always playing it conservative, or you're always trying to like win the workout and training, and you're not just trying to learn something, sometimes means that you redline too quickly, that you're not doing yourself a service.
Yeah.
I would like, because we haven't had a podcast since quarters came out, correct? We haven't had a chance to go through. I would love to go through the events. I'd love to get.
Let's save a couple for Mitch too, because Mitch is going to come on for the second half.
Yeah, for sure. But I'd like to start, maybe going through some of the workouts, giving some of our thoughts, and then obviously for. You guys, you and Dakota, Carson and Dakota, you guys both did them all. So I would love to get people's opinions on the workouts, what they liked, what they didn't like, etc. So first workout obviously was 9, 15, 21 of front squats, 9 front squats, 9 handstand walks, 15 front squats, 15 muscle ups, 21 front squats, 21 chest to wall handstand push-ups, which is the first time that we have seen the chest to wall handstand push-up other than the games last year. Obviously this was not with a deficit. So would love to get your guys' thoughts, and I'll give mine as well.
Carson, talk through it kind of from your perspective, and like things that were good for you, how you had to break things up, stuff like that.
Yeah, so obviously I knew like for the front squats that, especially the heavy barbell going broken on it, I know that's like one of my strengths. And then same with the handstand walks, I knew that's where I could pick up some ground. So I was kind of like go fast on these, and then break up
you ran into the rig almost.
I did. Hey, I dodged it though.
It was very impressive. That
video needs to resurface. You got to find a clip of that and pull it back.
It was really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
So I broke up the second set of front squats because I knew the muscle ups would be tough for me. They were a lot tougher than I anticipated, and had to break the muscle ups a lot more than I wanted to, but it's kind of just how the cards played out at that point. And then it was just kind of like get through the 21 front squats and try my best on the handstand push-ups. They were way harder than I was expecting. I was humbled a lot on those.
Yeah, I was judging Carson, and she definitely was a little bit shocked by how hard those handstand push-ups were.
Yeah.
I got to judge actually Carson and Dakota on this, and they both were a bit shocked on how hard those handstand push-ups were. D, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, so shocked that you go back and you try and do the math and you say, okay, I was basically there for like 6 minutes. I had to do 21 of them. I got 18, so I did 3 handstand push-ups a minute. Jeez. Yeah. But you know what? It was accumulation of having to do the wall walk every time. And then for me, I mean, I fell victim to going out too hot on the handstand walks. Like I was 7 or 8 in, and I looked over and I said, I did the Kiefer moment where I said, uh-oh.
Yes, you did.
Except instead of being at the last 30 seconds of the workout, it was essentially the first 30 seconds of the workout. So, getting through everything up until the handstand push-ups wasn't too crazy. I think, when you look at the time people spent on the handstand push-ups, especially someone like myself, half the workout was spent there almost. We might have seen it for the first time, but it's not something that we were totally surprised with. Right. I think a lot of us saw that new tape line, and if you've done some of our online template, you've been doing what we've referred to as wall facing, not chest to wall, but we've been doing wall facing handstand push-ups for a little while now. And
yes, Jorge,
I'm glad, I got 18 in the 6 minutes, and that's based on what I've been practicing. but I know that there's more of those in the near future. 100%.
And I can speak to why not let athletes kick up into the wall facing handstand.
And I
push-up.
think that we ran into a little bit of a spacing issue, not even an issue, but that was something we considered when we were laying out our floor plans, which is like, oh, what if athletes are going to be falling and kicking up? But you were not allowed to kick up. You had to do that extra handstand or the extra wall walk every time. And dear Lord, that had a huge effect.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
that this
agree.
is the intention of it, but I think that honestly, forcing people to do a wall walk into it plays into part of the stimulus of the workout and part of the risk reward of you're going to be punished every time you come down, because the wall walk is almost as challenging as doing handstand push-ups. And so if you're you're not going to be able to get away with small, quick sets without fatigue, because you're going to get more fatigue by wall walk. So it amplifies how much it pays off to be able to do big sets, but that also increases the risk of you blowing up by doing a big set. And so it's a different way of challenging people, but it certainly forces you to be cerebral and to know yourself as an athlete. I don't know if that's the intention. Maybe it was just a standardizing thing. Maybe it was a safety thing in terms of people being next to each other. But that's the piece that I like about wall facing is you can't have two athletes, one that can do 20 unbroken and one that has to do sets of 4 really quickly, and have them have the same outcome, because you're punished every time you come down. Whereas on a standard handstand push-up, you can just kick back up really quickly and maybe you stay fresh.
Yeah, it's a much more punishing movement, and I think we saw that around the world. There was a pretty large variance, even at the highest levels, and even in our athletes, a lot of our athletes who qualified, there were a few that struggled, and talked about how that wall walk just kicked their ass, like having to get back up and do the wall walk was really, really challenging.
Mhm.
Overall, I liked the workout. I thought it was pretty good. I think that we've seen, I think it's always hard when you have a new movement. It's hard to, really kind of define the standards. And you saw, some videos, it's just tough to watch where some people are just, up against the wall and, arched and, so they'll have to clean it up, I think. But I can obviously say, and I think we know this, that we will be seeing a lot of chest to wall handstand push-ups or wall facing in various capacities. I think throughout the rest of the season, I'd be shocked if we don't see strict deficit wall facing either at semifinals or at the games. I think we'll see that come back. I'm hoping this year that the judging standard is better. I'm hoping that it's not to an arbitrary line like they did last year at the games, which was really challenging and super subjective to judge. It was actually much easier to judge because during quarterfinals, because you just had to touch your head to the ground. So I'm hoping that they'll have something that allows people to be able to touch their heads to something. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good workout. And I liked it as an opener to the quarterfinals tests.
And we know that every person that programs for a local competition is going to be like, oh, I want to do wall facing handstand push-ups now. And you're going to see it all over the place.
Right.
So now that we're 1 month into kind of learning that new 30-inch tape line, 10-inch standard, do we feel better about it?
I still like it.
Are we, now that we've had a little bit of time to practice it, in like a day-to-day setting, and it's not such a surprise, do we like it better for this show of tests than the Open?
I think it works better for wall facing than it does for traditional handstand push-ups. But I don't have a problem with it now that we know what it is.
Yep.
And people can practice. My biggest issue with it in the Open was that it was a brand new movement with brand new standards. And whenever you do that to the world, you end up getting a judging fiasco. And so that was my biggest issue with it when I was complaining.
Holy shit. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
Wow. Yeah,
that we're saying wow to this comment, right? From Hans.
Putting everything together. It's going to be handstand walk to the wall. When you get to the wall, you have to pirouette to wall facing, then get up on your blocks, and then do strict deficit handstand push-ups from there. And then you have to pirouette away and handstand walk out.
You should program for grid.
Yeah, that sounds like a grid. That
Don't
totally sounds
don't
like a grid
Soroka,
move.
don't even comment on the back end here. You know he gets all fired up about grid.
All right, here we go.
Workout
Grid.
2.
Workout 2. This was the biggest joke in all of quarterfinals. Anyway,
Was it?
oh,
I don't know.
such a
I can't wait to disagree. Go ahead.
this was a joke.
Carson, you start before old man Grumps gets going here.
For me, this was it went as well as it could have gone. My crossovers went great. I think I maybe tripped one time and that was it. It was honestly just fitness. So like it wasn't even the crossovers.
I actually think it was fitness for at least half of our athletes, which is for half of our athletes in-house, which is a good credit to how much we've practiced or how athletic some of our crew is. But I was afraid going into it that it was just going to be about who could execute crossovers and who couldn't. And I was actually pleasantly shocked by how many people were limited by fitness as opposed to just the crossovers. Now, that's not to say that it wasn't fitness causing them to then trip a little bit on crossovers, but it wasn't just like, I can't do this thing. It was, I can do this. I need to move fast on the dumbbell. Now my heart's really high and now I have to work on execution a little bit. And so I thought that it balanced itself out much better than I expected. I don't think it was as much of a shit show as it could have been when we first saw it on paper.
I would disagree and say that at the elite level, you can go down the leaderboard and you could take a look at the top 100 in the world, and you've got some athletes who got close to 600, and you got some athletes who got in the mid 300s.
And you want to know what that tells me?
And it came down to who
actually did that shit in their programming for the last 6 months.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but our people have been doing crossover dubs for a long time. The rest of the workout was a joke for the majority of that level. And take someone like Paige Power. She's not even one of our athletes, right? She wins quarterfinals if not for this workout, but in this workout she bombed. She doesn't even finish in the top 20 in the world, where I believe she was top 5 in every other workout.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky, for example, is now really, really good at crossover doubles. Did this workout, basically said to me, he missed every 3 essentially. He got 6 rounds, but
he self-admittedly is not a great jump roper in general.
He's great at double unders. He's not great at some of the other that we see.
Yeah.
Are you going through you're just going through the workout. Go through, put up the top 100 without specifying this workout. And I'd love to see the variation in the scores between you got a pretty massive variation in these scores. And the majority of these athletes are not 150 reps less fit than Justin Medeiros. Justin's good. He ain't that fucking good. I just have an issue with the fact that the rest of the workout, in my opinion, for that level, was pretty useless. So I'm fine with it. It's done. And I don't think that it necessarily kept anyone out that should be going to semifinals. But without question, I'm just not a huge fan of that movement paired with the others, to where it became, in my opinion, a crossover singles test.
Yeah, going off that last part that it didn't really keep anyone out made me just think of, wow, this would have been a perfect opportunity for the open. Put that in there with like a 50-pound and a 35-pound dumbbell, the single under crossers. You get a chance for the whole world to really see how tough they are. And again, no one's going to get excluded from quarterfinals based on that workout when you balance out some of the other things. As someone who really likes jump rope, we've been doing them a ton in programming, singles, doubles, triples, crossers, you name it. I liked the workout, but I think that it was just like a better one for the open stage. I don't think it was a really good test for this late stage. But what I did like was, you mentioned, kind of that panic or that heart rate component where you miss 1, you miss 2, they just start rolling and adding. And really, when you do the math, 1, 2 trips, there's 3 reps, 5 reps, 10 reps on the leaderboard. And so I think that's where you see those big gaps is some people just had good sets and some people started to trip and it just tanked.
And we can certainly move on from this after because we could do this all day, I'm sure. But my one pushback to that would be that one of the gripes for stuff like crossovers is that it is considerably easier with a different piece of equipment. And I think putting it out in the open is an unreasonable expectation for people to have access to beaded ropes or heavier ropes at that stage. Otherwise, it becomes really, really hard to do at high volume. And so I do think it's better at quarterfinals, because it's also something that we saw showcased at the games at a higher level skill. And so they're basically telling us this is going to be a higher level competition. This is a progression of skill that we expect. And so if quarterfinals is going to filter people for semifinals in the games, that I think that it's an appropriate thing for them to introduce at a stage when the people trying to go to semifinals likely have or should be able to get access to a rope that makes it a little bit easier than maybe their traditional speed rope does.
Do you think they should have just done crossover dubs in this scenario?
I like the singles. They did singles at Legends at Masters Fitness Collective too, crossover singles. So like we've seen it
for Masters athletes.
Yeah. I think
Masters
that
athletes.
It's a teaching progression into it.
Yeah.
Right. Like crossover singles are a gateway into doing crossover doubles. So I think that's perfectly fine.
I also think it just looks stupid. I'm not a big fan of things that make the sport look dumb.
Not when Ava does
it.
it.
Oh man, the videos look so freaking stupid. People just looked asinine. I think this would be another meme for people to use against the sport. I just, to me, it just didn't add anything. It didn't add anything. It was kitschy. Put doubles in there. Let's make it a fitness test. Let's not make it a fucking, silly skill test with crossovers. This was more about Boss proving a point than trying to prove fitness, in my opinion. Anyway.
Workout
Carson,
3.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I think we're about to pull Mitch in.
Perfect.
To look at this guy.
Carson, Mitch, do you have any? Oh, she's gone.
Yeah, Mitch, just in time for talking about that jump rope more, huh? You love that workout.
No. Skip this one. We're moving on from this.
My back didn't like that workout. Jump rope.
Which is a great addition to my point that for some people it was more about fitness and work capacity than just the jump rope.
Geez.
Anyway,
such a contrarian.
Mitch, our guy that loves to keep our heart rates high and our anxiety high over the course of the weekend, 2 years in a row. I don't want to say
cardiac kid, baby, the cardiac kid,
but making it interesting right down to the wire.
The cardiac kid,
but under different circumstances this year than last year for sure.
Yes. That's much
give the people the 21 people watching now on this ultra popular live stream the rundown. What have you been dealing with for a couple months now, kind of going into this?
So since Wodapalooza, basically I've had some serious it's been kind of loosely diagnosed as tendonitis issues in my hand. I haven't gotten an ortho opinion yet. I've been getting a lot of body work and PT on it. And actually prior to this weekend, it was improving significantly, which was good to see. And now we have regressed significantly to prior to that, but
might as well have just taken a bat to it.
Yeah, at that point it was a lot of pounding on it during the weekend. I hadn't done so basically the big things that bother it is anything hanging from a bar or an implement. So muscle ups, any toes to bar, chest to bar, bar muscle ups, rope climbs. So luckily for me, all of that was put into one workout. It was just kind of a dumpster fire for it. It would happen to be the last workout of the weekend, which was good and bad because I had, at that point, I thought I had done enough to be pretty comfortable with it. Turns out it was not enough to be that comfortable. But it was pretty evident to me immediately when I started that workout and started the chest bar that this was not going to be as easy as I thought it was going to be. That workout, those movements on paper line up really well for me if I'm 100% and feeling good. And I got through the first set of chest bar, and it was a struggle bus to hang on after that. And it really, really came into play affecting the rope climbs and just my grip in general to be able to hold on to the rope and then lean myself back and get a good foothold and climb a rope like you normally would was kind of out the window. So I kind of had to struggle pieced my way through those, ended up with a time that is not great. And if you see it on the leaderboard, you're like, wow, he probably got hit with a huge penalty or something.
Oh, bring up the leaderboard trophy. We want to see it. It's only funny because he's in.
Yeah, it was about as clean a run as I could get in that time.
I was very concerned.
But
it was from workout one, really. Like the handstand walking and front rack had been okay, but they kind of set it off going into the ring muscle ups, and that was where the weekend started to look gloomy, because there's a lot of workouts that right now in your fitness, if you're healthy, this whole weekend lined up really well for you to have a fantastic showing. And you going from probably being a 10-5 guy on those ring muscle ups to having to do 5 sets of 3 was just a really brutal way to start the weekend.
Yeah, it was extremely evident as soon as I did the handstand walks, everything's fine. And as soon as I kicked up for that first set of muscle ups and I turned over my first muscle up, and it was basically, if you've ever had bubble wrap and you feel what that feels like to kind of go through some bubble wrap, that's what happened in my wrist. So that was super comfortable for me. And then it came down after 3, and Kiefer looked at me and I looked at him and was like, oh, okay.
Gonna be 3s.
Yeah,
I think that was
with 3s.
I think I was watching that on the side. That was like the moment when I was like, wow, he actually is hurt. I thought he was getting better and better. And I think Matt came running around and was like looking at you from the side, because you started doing a little bit
doing
of
some weird shit.
This one.
I was chicken winging ring muscle up, so that was great. Yeah. Those looked phenomenal. It was great.
But you got through. It was a good testament to mental toughness.
Absolutely,
got through and riding the wave. And I've never seen you so emotionally distraught on the final day or two or something. So we all learned something from that experience, and we get to move forward now.
Yeah, it's the last month has been great for my emotional state.
we won't even go there right now.
No, don't get me started.
So we're just we were going through the workouts with Carson a little bit. We got through the first 2, so we're on to workout 3, clean and jerk workout, which I know is one that you enjoyed. Maybe it wasn't quite as fruitful as you would have liked for it to do, but it was a solid workout. It was a fun one to have in the middle of the weekend.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Like that one kind of lines up, like you were saying, a lot of these lined up really well. I think that's a testament to where I'm at in my fitness right now. But 275 on the barbell is pretty solid for me. Hindsight being 2020, this was one that I really wish I had just knocked out immediately during the weekend. And I feel like, honestly, I probably left about a minute on the board with that, just with my CNS not being as fresh. That 70-pound dumbbell and all those dumbbell snatches the day before, and the kind of the intensity of that first workout on the legs really zapped me more than I anticipated for Saturday morning. So Saturday morning, picking up 275, I was like, this does not feel as light as it usually does. Still a good workout. I really like the test. It was cool just to see something this year that wasn't just hey, here's a 4-rep max front squat or a CrossFit other total. It's a little bit of fitness involved. You got to do some jumping. Your heart rate's not going to be at a solid 60 the whole time. So I really enjoyed that type of test and this style of workout. But yeah, definitely a little bittersweet because I feel like I left some points on the table on that one. But it's all good.
Kiefer, was this the only one you did?
Yes, it's the only one I did.
Pick and choose.
That's just the benefit of being a coach. Yeah. I was like, good workout. Can I snipe a couple people on? And I picked that one.
There you go.
I think I totally agree. I think that in hindsight, Justin and I both kind of agreed that at least for a chunk of people, it would have been nice to do this one first. Honestly, I just think we looked at it as like, all right, 5 test weekend. When they come out, we'll see the order. If there's a lift, we'll do it first. And it's just hidden enough that we weren't thinking of it as being a lift workout. And so when we saw that there were 5 fitness tests, we were like, all right, let's start in order. Let's get this ring muscle up workout or this handstand push-up workout out of the way. But I do think that for some of you doing it first, it probably would have had, another 10 to 45 seconds shaved off. And it really didn't have much impact on any other workout. So
no,
but we got through it. We learned from that.
Yeah. And I don't think it kept anybody out. So that's good. You know, everyone who was going to make it, made it. Everyone who wasn't going to make it, didn't make it. And so, ultimately I think it all worked out well. I think this was, I'm hoping that this is what we'll see for the future in quarterfinals, where if we do have a strength bias test, it's still a fitness test. And I really enjoyed this. I thought this was actually my favorite workout of the weekend, for, as a test for people getting to semis. I really like this one.
What do you think?
I was trying to tee you up to have you brag about how you beat me in one of them, but
No.
But I'll take that one
Because I still lost to Mitch by almost 90 seconds, so I've got nothing to brag on.
All right.
I did beat Sroka though.
Ooh,
he wasn't happy about it. He might even show his face for that.
All right, moving on. Number 4, 20-minute AMRAP. 1,000-meter row, 50 GHDs, 500-meter row, 25 V-ups. First time we've seen V-ups I believe in the history of any CrossFit competition. What do we think of this workout, boys?
First impression, Mitch.
So, if we want to talk about my anxiety and mental state throughout the weekend,
this floor plan.
When I saw the floor plan come out with this, and just the GHD and the rower, I think my heart rate was probably at like 140 for a solid 45 minutes. Just making up things. Going back to 2021, the workout that actually kept me out of semis was a similar floor plan with just a rower and a wall ball, just 2 implements. Mm-hmm. So I saw this kind of same setup, and my anxiety went through the roof. I had to calm myself down, text Kiefer. He told me how fit I was. I felt a little better about myself.
That doesn't sound like me.
Yeah. But as a test, honestly, this one, for the anxiety I had going into it, I was super happy with how it turned out, how I executed it, how it felt as a fitness test. It was a great test of like aerobic capacity and just how you were able to maintain. I liked the change up of rowing for meters rather than calories, because it kind of evens the playing field a little bit for our less vertically inclined folks. So it's a lot easier to kind of get on there and rip 2,000 calories an hour and do 30 calories in 46 seconds or something like that than it is to have a consistent pace for the 1,000. So it makes it more level for just testing your fitness all around. The V-ups were definitely interesting. Really made sure to read the standards 2 or 3 times before those, especially you see all this.
It didn't matter.
No, apparently not, because there's how many people now that have Hiller has destroyed and shown that it doesn't really matter whether you follow the standards or not.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, some people, for every person that he showed that has gotten away with not following the standards, there's probably 2 or 3 that have gotten ripped apart and gotten major penalties for it. So it's like flip a coin, and I'd rather not flip that coin. Personally.
Sorry, just on the V-up thing, because I wanted to know what everybody thought about this. I thought there was a huge difference in terms of the stimulus between having to touch your actual like tops of your toes and touching the top of your foot.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed in myself for not having understood the standard. And I actually sent a DM to Scuds after, because I saw that her own post comparing what was on the standard sheet to what she had done in the in her recording. And I was like, wait, you could just touch the top of your feet? Because near the very end, when I started getting tired, I started getting no rep. But do you guys think that that's a significant difference between touching the top of your foot and touching your toe? Because for me, at least, it was.
I mean, that's 3 to 6 inches. We all know how much of a difference that can make.
Oh, geez.
But
yeah, I think in general, there was a huge difference. If it had been touch your toes as opposed to touch your foot, which is what the standard says, that's a massive difference. They also, unfortunately, didn't really define clear standards for the GHDs, and we've seen that has been a nightmare around the world. Some of our athletes that got hit with major penalties then appealed and won the appeal. But in general, this workout, I would be surprised if this workout hasn't been the most controversial and didn't receive the most penalties. I think, unfortunately, CrossFit set themselves up a little bit for that with the lack of defined standards. I think it was very contradictory in the standards. So hopefully moving forward, we'll see more clearly defined standards. I didn't have a problem with the workout. I just have a problem with not. Yes, I can hear the wind. Yeah. I just have a problem with making it really challenging to judge. Like make it as clear as possible. Like make it simple for the judges to make calls. And unfortunately, every year we see a couple of movements that turn into a shit show because there's just not clearly defined standards.
Mitch, just to make this a simple question now too, if I were to tell you that you would definitively see V-ups again at semifinals, would you feel happy, annoyed, indifferent? Like, what do you think of it as a movement to be done in a competition setting?
Indifferent. It's just another abdominal movement. If we're doing it at semifinals and it's live and there's judges there and everybody's held to the same standard, sure. As a test like this, like Justin said, I just think I personally I enjoyed the structure of the test and everything as far as capacity, but the amount of gray area that was introduced with the standards is really concerning. And yeah, it just leaves so much open to just interpretation of your buddy judging you. And yeah, I was really surprised to see it out listed. And I actually, when I looked at the tests and everything that came out and I saw this one, I had to scroll up to make sure that I wasn't on like the scaled version of the workout.
Right.
And I was like, oh, quarterfinals doesn't have scaled versions of the workout. This is just the workout. And I was like, okay, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, to me, it just kind of missed the mark as far as, especially when we're trying to introduce so much like definitive, everything's been going back and forth and there's that huge emphasis on judging and standards and movement quality. And then you throw in a movement that has like literally probably the most gray area that you could introduce into it. Just, yeah, it was interesting. I'm okay with it now because I didn't get penalized and my video got validated. So but yeah, it was just a little head scratcher as far as that goes.
I love it. Mitch is on my side.
I got you.
Yes. Let's go to Mitch's favorite workout, number 5.
At some point, I would like to redo this when I can actually hold on to a rope.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Be an interesting case study.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the first time you did it or the second time you did it?
What first time?
I'll talk about your first time if you want.
21, 15, 15, 9, 9, deadlifts, chest to bars, deadlifts, bar muscle ups, deadlifts, and rope climbs. Yeah, when we saw this initially, my first thought was break everything early, set yourself up for success on the rope climbs, which I think turned out to be a good strategy for most people. I have to admit, I was pretty amazed by some of the times that I saw. Obviously, Ricky was one of them and going 423, which is pretty crazy. But I didn't see the video, but to hear that Laura Horvath did the entire workout unbroken in 411 is just absolutely astonishing. I just can't even fathom the grip strength that you have to be able to do that. Because even Vellner, who went 409 and won the men's side, broke on every set of deadlifts. He at least broke a couple times. The fact that Horvath didn't is just astonishing.
It's that rock climbing background. Everybody just bought their 2-month membership leading into semifinals.
That's right. You guys come climb with me anytime. Mitch, I personally, I think your story is much more interesting because of how dramatic it is and how you almost went from, way in to out. So let's talk more about that. That's more interesting.
Yeah. So that was, great. I'm glad it was dramatic and entertaining for everybody. as
Oh
I'm
my
sitting here
God.
now. But
when you got done, bro, I'm not gonna lie. My first text was to Ashley, and it was basically like, "Oh shit, I'm
you
not
told me
sure
everything
Mitch
was
is gonna
fine.
stay in."
Everything's
Listen,
He
what was
didn't
I
say it was
gonna
fine.
say?
His words were, "It'll be fine. You might get in on a backfill." And mind you, like to set the stage for people, Mitch was in 30th going into this day.
Yes,
He was like in the clear, all was well. The sky
In
would
the
have to
clear.
fall for him to miss out on going to
It
quarterfinals,
almost
on
fell.
It's
semifinals.
coming down pretty quick.
Yeah, it
It
was
was coming
coming
down.
down. When you finished, I
I
was
held
like,
it up for you all, though. You're lucky I'm taller than
"Oh
you, and the sky
no."
never got to you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I was fairly worried. I'm not gonna lie to you. But
I-
hey, it's
yeah.
all turned out well.
Yeah, this one, honestly, like on paper and seeing the weekends, like when it all came out on Thursday, I was super excited for this one. Just being like bar muscle ups, chest to bar, rope climb, regular rope climbs for me, like are three really good movements. That being said, I had no idea what the cumulative effect of the weekend was going to do to my hand. So I became much less excited Saturday night when I went to do this workout for the first time. And it was extremely evident at that point that this was going to be a problem. So like I said, I had the hand issue before since Wodapalooza. It's been pretty extensive. I haven't done any hanging movements from the pull-up bar except in the open. I did the 20 muscle ups and those 50 toes to bar, and that was about it. I actually hadn't done a bar muscle up or a chest to bar since before Wodapalooza. So this one was kind of just taping her up and seeing how everything went. And spoiler alert, it did not go well. I finished at 8:21. 8:21 is actually a minute better than the first attempt for me, which was I've never wanted, especially during qualifier workout, wanted to stop doing something as much as I did probably about 3 rope climbs in to the first attempt at this. Yeah, the ropes were a little slick. Everything was a little new, but it was honestly, it was just a combination of the entire weekend, and nothing was going right. I was jumping up on the rope and like I couldn't bring my feet up quick enough to get a leg lock because my grip was already failing. And then I was trying to rush the leg lock, so that was failing. And it looked like if someone were to have like greased up a fireman's pole. And I did about 5 or 6 of those where I got like one pull up and then went down, and I was like, oh, good, this is great. It would have been hilarious if it wasn't the fate of my season. So that was, I don't think I slept since probably Tuesday before quarters for many other reasons, but this definitely made Saturday night a sleepless night for me. So I woke up Sunday morning and was like, okay, we're gonna have to get after some stuff here, and it's gonna be very uncomfortable, and just got to do what you can do. 8:21 was the best I could do. So here we are in 54th place currently after going from 30th.
Well, it was also you. I remember I was judging you Saturday afternoon when you did it, and you were like 6 or 7 in. You had failed probably 6 reps, an equal number that you'd done. And you just looked at me, and you're like, I don't know what to do. And you're like, I just want to stop. And I was like, you have to finish because we need a score in, because you have no idea how your hand's going to feel tomorrow when you get back to this.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Like, I was like, you just got to finish it so that there's something official, and then we move on. And it wasn't even official anyway because you fucked up and wore your grips. But
yeah,
I'm glad that you finished that first one. At least you had a score to beat, and you came back. You did beat it, which is great. And listen, it all worked out in the end.
I will be much more comfortable on Tuesday morning when my inbox has that invite in there. Still forever nervous about everything, but I've got the validation so far, so we're good.
Okay.
What do you think it's like for Carrie, who has probably never been so on the bubble for something, to have to deal with you for the last week being on the bubble?
What the hell is this kid doing? 2 years in a row, she's got to deal with this garbage. Like, oh my God. I probably would have walked home if I didn't beat my time from Saturday night, she just would have taken the truck and went. Just would have
Listen,
huffed it back.
The only bubble she's
Carrie
ever
was
been on
very
was
supportive. I will say, so on our video on YouTube, after you finished, Carrie, she was a really good liar. She came up to you and you were like, "You crushed that. It was great." After the second time, and I know in her mind she just must have been like, "Jesus,
No.
this fucking screw."
Well, if you watch,
he
the
did
first
crush it
one-
relative to the first time. Yeah. I said the same thing to him, and that was a fact. We were like, good, best you could have done. Let's get the fuck out of here now.
Oh my God. Now, listen, man, here's the bottom line. At the end of the day, we know what happened, but no one gives a rat's ass. Like, you're going to semifinals. And to get to semifinals, you got to be, what was your thing there, Kiefer? You got to be really fucking fit to get to semifinals, right? Isn't that's
Yeah.
the diagram you use, the graph?
That was the secret sauce for
Yeah.
becoming a games champion.
Yeah, you got to be really fucking fit to get to semis. So you're really fucking fit, bro. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. 2 years in a row.
It's awesome, man.
Well,
Now let's go. Let's get you healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
How's it
Fortunately,
feeling
we
today?
found out that GHDs, V-ups, and running are still things we can work on.
there you go. It's not. I know it's there. I got some work on it yesterday. I'm going to be upping. So just with travel and everything where I was at after Wadapalooza, I was only able to get in for body work once a week to get it worked on. So I talked with my PT yesterday, and we're going to up that to twice a week and just see how things progress. And if she gave me a lot of homework to do at home and just kind of things to help improve. And then I was talking about alternatives to, like, if we're not progressing quick enough and where we want to be at. We talked about seeing an ortho and either some PRP or cortisone shot maybe later on. But right now it doesn't look like it's not anything bone or fracture related. It's more of a lingering, like, really deep sprain type of deal with all the ligaments and stuff. So hopefully some TLC and everything will improve it. Like I said, the training before, like, me and Kiefer were working around it pretty well. I was obviously able to maintain a high level of fitness without doing these other things. It's just a matter of getting it as healthy as I can before kicking the crap out of it for 4 days in a row at semi. So.
For sure.
What's one movement that we have not seen that you would be excited to see at semis?
That we haven't seen?
Mm-hmm. Or seen in the way that you would like to see it, I suppose.
Heavy squat cleans.
In a workout?
Preferably in an ascending ladder of heaviness, or just really heavy squat cleans. Yeah.
What's it paired with?
Whatever you want.
Is it rowing in GHDs?
That would be best case scenario, probably.
Honestly. Something fitness related that is going to make it very difficult for just the big hosses to get up there and rip something.
Okay.
Something that you're going to pick up and your heart rate's going to be at 160 plus, and you're going to have to move well under fatigue. Heavy squat cleans are heavy. Well, I guess we had heavy snatches in the open, so I guess those have already come up. But
you didn't have to touch a heavy snatch to get through to quarterfinal, so I wouldn't even consider that to be that relevant at that point.
Yeah, that's true. Or I do love heavy dumbbell snatches. I think anything heavy with a dumbbell implement is cool, and really any heavy shoulder to overhead. If they want to do a workout that's very overhead intensive with the hundreds or barbells or whatever, I really like that. I'm very proficient overhead, so anything like that I would really enjoy.
I like it.
Or swimming. I really like swimming.
All right,
but
that's
enough.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance we'll see a heavy snatcher, heavy clean, heavy squat clean at semis. Curious to see though if they'll do kind of similar to what they did here, where there won't just be a single modality strength test. I hope that that's the case. I really do. In this case, it was a 5-test competition. Semifinals tends to be 6-test competition. I'm just not a huge fan of the single modality strength test. I just think it's too biased. So we'll see. A lot of time to prep, though. A lot of time to prep, and a lot of time for us to, make our guesses and give our opinions on what we're going to see. I think without question, we're going to see some kind of crossover shit and some type of wall facing shit. So
Maybe they might fuck around and say, "You guys have been practicing crossovers. I hope you've been doing your weighted dubs." And they come back and they give us what we've been doing for the last 10 years.
Yeah, drag ropes,
5 years. Yeah,
triples, maybe. I don't know.
But
I feel like
what is it? We'll be off next week. The week after this, we'll be able to come on and recap what's going on with the teams and the age group quarterfinals. See how many more people we can push through.
Yeah, next week will be fun. You excited for Kenny?
Oh, very excited for Kenny. Excited for the rest
Marley,
of our teams. Marley and Maya. Excited for the Masters. Shannon and Debbie. We got some other Masters that are coming into town for it.
Rudy out in Cali.
Excited for the Underdogs team, A team
Cammy.
And B team.
Oh yeah, let's go,
dude. The B team's coming in hot. Let me tell you, we had a team training session the other day.
I saw you in there, bro.
Oh yeah,
I saw you jumped in.
I had to take a day off today. I was a little sore.
And then wish Ivy good luck at her state gymnastics meet this week. We leave tomorrow for Reno.
There you go.
Yeah, so
be awesome. She'll crush it.
Yeah, she will. Mitch, thanks for joining us, bro.
Yes, sir. Stroka, thank you as always on the back end.
Pleasure.
Stroka, we love you. Mitch, thank you for just sucking enough on the final workout to get in, because if you had sucked any more, man, all of us would be crying right now. So it was just a little bit.
Yeah. I know. Just
what?
keeping everybody on their toes. Yeah.
I'm messing with him. He wouldn't have sucked if it wasn't for an injury. Everybody knows that. It was just fucking terrible. It was good.
The best part was
he did the best he could with the tools he had, and there's a valuable
100%.
lesson to be taken from it.
Yes.
The best part was when the scores were released. So 54th now, but everything takes the time to settle. And when the scores were released, was scrolling down and oh, cool. I had a bad workout, but I'm not gonna drop out of the top 50. And then you get into the 50s and still scrolling, and then it hit 60, and that was me. And I was like, "You got to be shitting me again!" You're
playing roulette and landing on 00.
Oh, it was unbelievable. I immediately looked. I immediately looked over at Ashley, and I was like, "Man!" I was like, "He's in 60th." I was so happy because leaving the gym, I was like, "Oh shit! I just don't know if it's gonna be good."
I don't want, and Dakota's not here, so. But I knew when he beat me on that one that you were in trouble. That didn't bode well.
And we love Dakota. That's nothing against you, Dakota, at all.
Mitch, everybody beat you. Carson beat you. Ava
no,
beat
Carson
you.
didn't beat her. Didn't beat him.
Yeah.
Carson got 851.
Ava beat you.
Yes, she did.
Not
a lot of people beat you, bro.
Han smoked you. All right, we got to go.
Yeah.
It's time to get off here. We'll see y'all in a couple weeks. Thank you for tuning in, whether it's live or listening after the fact.